Welcome everyone here to the Smash FM News Show right here on Smash FM here on a Tuesday. Of course, let's go across to our friends over in the US, and of course we're heading to the Big Apple in New York, and of course speak to one of our favorite US music artists. Of course, we had on the show about 3 to 4 years ago now, and of course it is great to have her back. Her name is Lynn. She joins us right now. Thanks, Jess, for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
No worries. So tell us a bit about how you've been since we last had you on the show.
I can't believe it's been a few years already. That's crazy. I've been great. Obviously, the pandemic was a little bit slow, but also really fast in certain ways. My career moved forward in a lot of non-traditional ways, I guess you could say. But this past year was the first year we were really back on the road. And so we've been really busy recording new music, and the album I released in 2022, which is probably after I spoke with you, wound up charting on Billboard, which was really cool. I was the only independent artist in the top 45 on the current country chart. So it's been a really exciting few years.
Highlights, or I guess other than releasing that single 2 years ago, any other major achievements or highlights throughout the last 2 or 3 years?
There's been a lot of stuff, I have to think. I would say our tour we did this past year was probably the best we've ever done. There were a lot of sellout shows. We broke a record in Switzerland at the festival that we played. I was the only opening act in 28 years of the festival to fill the tent, which was really exciting. I also started working with the US government, teaching a course to students around the world about how to build successful and profitable independent music careers. So I've had students from age 16 to 50, literally all over the world, places in Africa to Europe. And so it's just been a really rewarding and exciting few years with a lot of different things.
Okay, you just mentioned about that. How did that all come about?
So I was on tour in Lithuania in 2019, and they were like, "Oh, you have to talk to the US Embassy. They're here." So I was like, "Oh, that's cool." We were in Europe at that point for almost 3 months. So it was really cool to have some Americans there to hang out with. And so we went over to the tent, and they had read about me. I was the headliner of the festival. So they said, "You have a teaching background. You should look into this program that the government does called American Voices." And basically I applied, and I've been with them ever since.
That's grown since since COVID has finished.
It's been really a whirlwind. Everything has been so busy. I do a big Christmas tour every year, which last year was very big. This year it's going to be even bigger. We're basically on the road from May to Christmas this year.
Have you got any new releases coming out this year?
Yeah, so I just released a single called Shame, which is doing really well. It's a crossover song. A lot of my music is crossover into the rock and blues space, the soul space, but this was my first crossover into the Latin space. And it was very cool that I had a top 100 on the Latino chart, the digital charts here in the US. And it also charted in Ireland, which was really exciting. And in country and on the Latino charts. And I have a bunch of singles coming up this year. So we've been in the studio every day working on the new music.
I'm glad you mentioned about Shame. That was the next question I'm going to ask. And you mentioned about the crossover to Latin. Tell us, how did that all come about? And especially, why did you go the Latin way for this song?
My music has never really been traditionally country. I mean, it has a foundation of country and the way it's structured and the storytelling, as well as a lot of the sounds. I had a pedal steel guitarist in my band for years, and the way the guitars are played. But again, I've always had many influences in my life, and they've all always combined into my own brand of country music, I'd say. Which as an Italian New Yorker, has never been, again, traditional in any way, shape, or form. But I've always loved Latin music and sounds. When I was a kid, I practiced singing and dancing over and over again to Gloria Estefan and Selena. I'm a huge Selena fan. So the song, when we were writing it, just kind of came out with that feel. And I was like, you know what? We've tried other genres. Why not? And I I guess we did a good job because it charted. It was really exciting.
You mentioned that you expanded your music to Europe. Um, do you have like a top 2 or 3 countries that your music has been a real hit over there, other than Ireland, as you mentioned?
That's a hard one. I think I've toured the most in Germany. Um, and that's one of my favorite places to tour. They just love live music there in Germany. And but I've had a lot of charting songs in Ireland, a bunch in Switzerland, and that's also another one of my favorite places. Every place has such a different feel and experience that it's really hard to compare. It's like apples and oranges.
Mm. I like when I had you on the show during the pandemic. I did ask, when are you coming to Australia? I'm going to ask the same question again. When are you coming to the land down under?
We're working on it. We actually did speak with the festival this year. It didn't work out for this year, but we're trying for next. So I have my fingers crossed that we have a little Australian tour in the future.
Ah, okay. Oh, well, I'm sure that will come out hopefully sometime throughout the year going into next year. Tell us how important is your Aussie fans and especially to have Australian fans listening to your music.
It's really so awesome, especially because it's a place that we haven't toured. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense when you tour in a place and then your music is streaming there a lot but for me, Australia has always been a really cool thing because they're one of my top places in streaming on all my socials, but we've never toured there. So I think it's just really awesome and I appreciate it so much. And I hope that we can actually get there soon.
Other than, you planning performances and gigs, especially now coming up to summer over there, very soon in the next couple of months. I guess, do you have any particular locations that you haven't played yet that you can't wait to play over the summer?
Yes, I can't announce them yet. We have to wait till April, which is a
Oh,
bummer. But yes, we are going places we have never gone before, both in the USA and abroad. And I also, unfortunately, can't talk about it yet, but I just signed a really exciting contract doing something with the military. So that is also going to be taking me to some really cool places.
you mentioned about the military a moment ago, which I know Americans do a fantastic job in regards to respecting their veterans, and the military in particular. Is that something you wanted to do? And especially, how long has this planning been going for? I know obviously you can't announce the contract, but how long did you really wanted to do something for the military and the veterans that the country do really well in?
Well, for the last 10 years, I've been partnering with different veterans organizations, organizations that support the troops. My second television special, we gave ticket sales to an organization that sends care packages overseas. I've done stuff with equine therapy, Honor Flight, which is an amazing organization. There's too many to count because I've been so involved over the years. And then this, the last the last 3 European tours, we played Wiesbaden Army Base in Germany for the 4th of July, which was really cool to be with the military there and their families for the holiday. So it's been a very long time of being involved in that world, and I'm really excited that the partnership is about to expand further.
Let's talk a bit about your music journey. What does the music scene mean to you now?
The music scene. Wow, that's an interesting question. The music scene has changed so much, even from the time that I started in this business. The internet has just exploded music and art. I think anyone entering the music scene now has so much at their fingertips that can help them to grow in this industry, which I think is really cool. But at the same time, I also think it's harder than ever for people to break into the scene because of how much competition there is, because of the ease that people can get out there. And, I think, especially after the pandemic, people have really missed live music. And I think that's played a part too, and people wanting to come out to shows more and kind of realizing the role that art plays in their lives.
Yeah, any future ambitions in music?
My future ambitions are really just to always be better than I was the day before. I think when you spend so much time focusing on hard goals, like I want this song to go number 1, I feel like you fail 90% of the time, but you're not really failing just because you didn't reach that one particular goal. You could have accomplished 100 other things. And I've really learned that throughout the course of my career, that it has never taken me where I thought it was going to take me. But the other paths were just as wonderful and sometimes a lot better. So for me, my future ambition, again, is just to be better than I was before. If I have 10 social media followers today and I have 12 tomorrow, that's a success. You know, if I had 10 tour dates this year and I have 11 next year, that's a success. And I think that's a really important way for musicians, artists, especially young artists, to look at their journey.
Who's been your inspiration throughout your music journey? I don't think I actually asked this question last time, but I'm going to ask it now.
Um, a lot of different people. I mean, a lot of artists, obviously, as a musician. You know, I grew up loving Richard Marx as one of my favorite songwriters of all time. Shania Twain was a huge inspiration within the country music space. Neil Diamond is a huge songwriting inspiration of mine. But also my family and my husband, especially. He's probably the person that really showed me that I was good enough to succeed, because you have so many doubts and naysayers. And when I met him, he was so supportive, as well as my parents. They're in my band. My mom's my background singer. My dad's my bass guitarist. So I have a really strong support system. And I think that really played a role in my inspiration and my influence in succeeding in the business.
Now, tell us a bit about, you mentioned about your family and how important they've been throughout this whole music journey, and especially to be part of your music. How, I guess, how important is that for you, and especially to have your parents involved in your music?
It's really, really special. This business can be extremely difficult, extremely shady and hurtful. And it's really nice to have people around you, including the rest of the band that I have, that have been with me a long time, that I fully trust, and that I know are there for me and have my genuine best interest at heart. But just getting to experience everything with my best friends and my family is unlike something I can really put into words. You never have to call home and say to my husband, "Oh my gosh, you had to see the most amazing crowd response that happened." They were there, they felt it. And I think that's something really special.
For everyone that should get involved in music, especially all genres of music like that you're doing right now. You know, I know you're mainly a country music artist, but obviously you're crossing over to other genres as well. What would be your advice to people? Maybe they're stuck in one genre, but they want to go into crossing over to other genres like you've been doing.
Music is art, and there are no rules in art. That's why I always find it funny when people are like, "What do you think about this person doing country or this person doing rock and roll?" It's like, why do I care? They're making art. You know, they can do whatever they want to do. And I think it's really important to just follow your gut and do what makes you happy. You don't have to live by anybody else's rules.
For everyone that should download your current single that you released earlier this year, what would be your advice to people, and how can I go about getting your new single?
My website is jessicalynmusic.org, and there are links to all my socials and everything on there. But you can listen on Spotify, your favorite streaming service, or you can download it on iTunes or Amazon Music, which is what actually helps it chart around the world.
And do you have any merch that our listeners or fans can purchase?
Yeah, I have a brand new merch store actually that just launched, that is fundraising for my upcoming tour and new music. As an independent artist, all tour expenses, everything come right out of my pocket. So every year we launch a brand new t-shirt line, hoodie line, to help us just raise money to keep releasing music. So that's also on my website, jessicalynmusic.org.
And let's finish off with a couple of light-hearted questions, which I asked you in the last interview, which I'm going to ask again.
Okay.
Any embarrassing moments on stage?
Oh gosh, too many to count. Actually, something really funny that happened this year on the Christmas tour, we send out these giant balloons. They're like this big, and for some of the songs, and we're doing a song, and the balloons sometimes they make their way on stage, and we can hit them back or whatever. And I this balloon flies on stage, and I think I'm gonna be dainty in my gown and walk over and like gently kick it back into the audience, but I don't know how I kicked it so hard, but I literally punted it at a man in the front row, and it slams him right in the face. And everybody was laughing. Everybody saw it. The man was hysterically laughing because his head literally like went back. It was such a funny moment that even at the meet and greet line after, people were like, I can't believe how hard you kicked that ball at that man's face. So that was embarrassing, but also hysterical.
Sorry, I've got to ask as a follow-up. Did you get to at least apologize to the man?
I did.
Afterwards?
I did apologize to him on stage. I couldn't sing the rest of the song. I was laughing so hard. So I was just like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll never forget that.
I'm sure that got caught on camera, did it?
It did, actually. It's from the back, so you can't see the full effect that I saw, but you definitely see the guy's head like fly and the ball go at him.
Do you have a pre-performance superstition or ritual?
I do. I need to spend time alone. I don't like to be crazy busy and talking to everybody before a show. And I always do a nebulizer to help keep my voice moisturized. And I also go over all the lyrics the night before. That's my actual pre-show ritual. If I don't sing, I don't know why. I wish I didn't have to do that, but that's why I love a busy touring schedule, because I'm always playing it and I don't have to practice.
Now, we mentioned about rituals and superstitions. Do you have a particular routine that you do prior? As you mentioned that you practice your songs before that, well, the night before. Is that part of your routine? And do you have any routines on the day?
So I guess I'll talk about the Christmas show because that's the most routine oriented, because when we're on the European tours or regular tours, every day is totally different for us. We're traveling maybe 6 hours, maybe 3 hours. We maybe have a sound check early in the day. We maybe have one right before we go on, depending on the size of the festival. But for Christmas, it's always the same. So usually we get into our hotel the night before about 1:30 in the morning. Then I'm usually up at 4 or 4:30. I don't get a lot of sleep on those days because I have to do my hair and makeup before we travel to the next city because we don't have time. We go to the theater at about 9 a.m., 9:15 a.m. We start loading in. So it depends on how far we are and how far we have to travel. We were set up from 9 to 3. Then at 3 to 5, we rehearsed with any local dancers, anything like that. 5 to 7, we eat and get our clothes on. And then 7 to 8:45 is show. And then we usually load out till about 11:30, midnight. And then we wake up and do it all over again.
We'll finish with this last one because I know you've got another one scheduled in about a couple of minutes, which is for anyone that should follow you on the socials. How can I go about, Jess?
It's Jessica Lynn Music everywhere. And on my website, again, you can find all the links, which is jessicalynmusic.org.
This is so awesome to have you back on the show. It's been way too long since we last had you on the show. Can't wait to hear more of your amazing music that you have, and especially, obviously, you got me on tour a lot during the summer over there, and especially towards the end of the year as well. So I can't wait, and I hope I'll get to see you over there in about 7 to 8 months' time.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. And that's Jessica Lynn there joining us, because to follow her music, as she said, you can go to the website as well, jessicalynmusic.org, for all the details, and we'll put all the details on how you can go about that. There's more on the Smash Evening Show right after this. Don't go away here on the 10th year celebration.